We are always driving for numbers, results, and outcome. But the way that the world is being divided right now, I think whoever can win the people battle, you can win over your guys, you can win over your customers, eventually you'll win the business war. And that is how I think the world is moving towards.
Hi everyone, welcome to the WAU podcast, and we are Unconventional. My name is Raymond,
And I'm Edmund.
we are the host for you today.
For the whole series, in fact.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So actually we represent Synex Consulting Group. So what we do is we actually help companies, leaders build better culture through the services that we do. Yeah, so I'm actually a passionate team dynamics coach. Basically, I pay attention to the dynamics that happen between teams and what kind of dysfunctions and comes to the picture to help solve those problems.
Yeah, can attest to that. He loves working with teams.
Yeah.
I myself, I'm more interested in working with the leaders because I think the leaders actually set the tone for the whole culture and environment. And I usually think that they are the one who has the biggest reach and impact. So through working with them, hopefully you can impact the teams as well.
Yep, but when working with Edmund, he definitely can provide a lot of perspective in that area.
Yeah.
So why do we do this podcast?
Exactly.
Actually, we identified there's this trend of this working group, the young workforce, and then the business leaders now.
Yep.
And apparently between this group, I think the distance between them is actually getting further and further away, and there's a lot of challenge between them, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so I guess the challenge is if no one talks about these issues, these unconventional issues maybe even, the divide is only going to get wider and wider. While we want to talk about it, of course, we're not here to solve it.
Yep.
What we hope to do is, through our conversations, we'll be inviting guests to our the conversation as well. So hopefully we can bring such unconventional conversations onto the table. So let's just kickstart this, have the awareness, and hopefully from there, we can glean some ideas about how to make it better.
So Edmund, I guess they must be wondering, why is this podcast called WAU Podcast?
Why?
Yeah, very simple. Actually, that just means we are unconventional. WAU.
Oh, wow.
Enlighten them. Yeah.
So basically, we are business leaders ourselves. So we have been running business together for the past maybe 10, 15 years. So what we have realized is we have been using quite a number of unconventional methods to achieve a certain level of team safety, a certain level of culture, and basically we love the people that we work with. And contrary to a lot of the textbook and conventional HR or organizational behavior methods, conventional methods, right? It seems that they are not achieving the effect. The divide that we talk about is getting wider and wider.
Exactly.
And so if the conventional method doesn't do, why not try out some unconventional methods? Maybe we can bring out some ideas onto the table, and who knows, maybe these are the methods that it can bring us some results.
Exactly. And in fact, we'll be getting speakers from both sides of the space, whereby we have the business leaders with the forward-thinking ones who will share with us thoughts, and also those young people who are in the workforce who have suggestions to improve the work culture.
Yeah.
Okay, but I realized I didn't explain just now. Edmund just did.
Yeah.
So this is a very friendly podcast. The reason why we have this, I need to introduce this, is Aha Boy, is whereby when we have like moments of aha, then we will press this. The good moments in this case. But let's say we find that there's situations that we feel flustered about, frustrated, and want to swear, we'll press this. Yeah. That's it. That's why he pressed that in this case.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just now we talked about one of the key problem statement that this whole podcast want to address is this growing divide, this resentment that is happening between the two sides, the workforce as well as the leaders, the bosses. So I'm sure Raymond will have a lot of connection to it.
For sure. Because just to introduce, we are also certified strength coaches. We do coaching, and we just to understand, CliftonStrengths is actually a Gallup tool. Yeah, so we help everyone find out their talents, their strengths, and put it into productive outcomes.
And connectedness is one of Raymond's top
Exactly.
and strengths.
Yeah, so connectedness just means that I think something's happening for a reason. There must be good work culture. Behaviors that is good will actually cascade better behaviors and work culture. And obviously, there's something important to me. But the thing is, if you look at the trends out there, I think there are really issues like disengagement, mistrust. People, the reason why they're disengaged because they maybe don't feel that they're contributing, or they are not using their strengths that is helping them. I think this is an important thing to take note, both from the person contributing and also the leader's observation. And in order to improve that culture, we want to pay attention to having conversation about how to help everyone be more engaged at work through their strengths in this case.
So the CliftonStrengths is definitely a tool that throughout this whole series, right, we'll be revisiting. So Raymond will be focusing on that. Whereas on my side, I'll be using this simple framework called the Goleman 6 Styles of Leadership to actually address the different leadership styles, because I think similar to the workforce, there are like different talent teams, 34 talent teams. Even for the leaders, right, you can actually employ different styles in your leadership at different point of time. So for example, you can talk to someone who is the very charismatic, visionary leader who employs the visionary style. So that's one style. Of course, you also have the relationship-based leader who really cares for you, and we call that the affiliative style of leadership. We'll probably cover a little bit more about this later on.
So, who should watch this podcast? In fact, actually, we identified there's 2 groups of people that should watch this. Okay. The first group is actually the young working adults, whom I hope to represent because I still look young. Yeah. But if you are, especially if you're working in the tech space, and you want to understand the thinking process of how your leaders think, and you want to share and then comment on how you feel about the work culture, this is for you. Yeah.
And the second group, of course, will be the leaders, especially forward-thinking leaders, those who basically have a heart to want to build a thriving organization, build a culture for their people. But maybe you just lack a little bit of the know-how. So this is the chance for you to really understand the young workforce and what are the methods that we employ to actually help build up this culture and environment for them.
Yeah, so talking about leaders who have impact, the first leader that came to my mind in the tech space obviously is Elon Musk.
Oh wow.
Do you have any comments or any analysis of his leadership
right
style?
Down to one of the most controversial leaders of our times. But love him or hate him, I think he is an impactful leader in our times for sure. So linking a little bit back to the 6 styles that I was talking about, definitely we cannot ignore Elon Musk as one of the visionary leaders of our times.
Oh, that's for sure.
So before people talk about getting rockets out into space and landing it back again, he thought about all this. Before we were driving normal cars, he thought about EVs. And recently he's thinking about freeing the bird by Twitter. So he basically wants to impact many different areas in our life. And the way that he employs is he's always a visionary leader who sees something that is he envisions in the future. His ability to communicate this obviously to his own guys is tremendous. So we do really see him in
that. I agree a lot.
Yeah. So, but of course, over here, the discussion is not about whether he has done good, done bad, or it's basically to just analyze probably his style and how we can actually employ some of these styles in the work that we actually do.
Yeah, cool.
So other than, I guess, visionary, this very interesting thing about Elon Musk, right? My personal take is I think he employs the affiliative style to a certain extent.
Really?
Affiliative is whereby he can connect with people. All right. So, but he has a very, very interesting way of doing it. So he's very, very active on Twitter, for sure. So obviously, before he even bought Twitter, right, he came out with this, I would think, publicity stunt. Do you all remember? He actually carried an actual sink into the Twitter headquarters just to send the message, let it sink in that he bought Twitter. Love him or hate him, I think he is able to connect with his audience. Yeah, because I think he's a troll himself to a certain extent. So those people, I mean the younger workforce, the millennials, they tend to link with this meme culture. So that's basically how he's reaching out to them. Yeah, but that's the different style.
Interesting perspective.
I mean that's in my opinion. So, but again,
but he has this really iron fist kind of style.
That's definitely a style that a lot of top leaders employ during times of crisis. So I'm sure we all agree that Twitter at that point of time is reaching a point of crisis. So the current board, the previous board, couldn't manage to turn it around. So when it came in, right, one of the first things he did is he sacked half the team, half the workforce. Right or wrong, time will tell. But you cannot deny that he took a very, very commanding stance on that.
And that's one of the 6 styles.
That's one of the 6 styles as well.
I see. Cool. Thanks for all the inputs, man. Yeah, so on this, now we would like to let you know that who are the guests that we're actually inviting for this podcast.
Yep.
In fact, there are voices on both sides of this podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the side is definitely the business leaders, tech founders. We even have football CEOs and people who really concerned about how do we build a better culture? How do we win as a team? Those people will be on this podcast to share insights and experience with us.
Yep. And to have a conversation, you need to have both sides, right?
Yep.
So on the other side, what we hope to achieve is to bring out the voices of the young workforce to really allow them to bring to the table a mature and understanding voice of people, young workforce who they're not the whiny, disruptive, complaining, demonstrative kind. Not those, but those who are mature, but yet they want themselves to be heard. They want to be understood by the bosses. So those are the guests that we actually want to bring onto the table as well.
Yeah, and then we can bridge this conversation and hopefully find something optimal in between. Yeah, so I mean, of course, this is the first episode. We have shared to you the outline of how this is. We also have some reflections and our thoughts on what we hope to achieve, right? Maybe Emma, you want to go first, like what kind of reflections and what you hope to achieve for this podcast? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in business, I mean, I always speak from the business leader's point of view, right? We are always driving for numbers, results, and outcome. But the way that the world is being divided right now, I think whoever can win the people battle, you can win over your guys, you can win over your customers, eventually you'll win the business war. And that is how I think the world is moving towards. Whether or not it's true or not, it remains to be seen. How about you, Raymond?
Yeah, so in fact, I mean, knowing Edmund, he has always been a very realistic business leader, etc. and all that. And the part where we align is whereby I also believe in order to win it long run, you have to have a sustainable culture. And then to have a sustainable culture, we need to talk a lot about how you treat your people, how do you grow with them, how do you make sure they contribute. Because I really sense that at this point in time, the gap is getting bigger and bigger as I speak to people out there. They're disengaged, etc. So my purpose and beyond just like helping business to grow, I feel that if we as leaders we have a privilege. If we build an environment that people can contribute, speak about their fears, voice up, have really good psychological safety, I think we have a good way of making them a better version of themselves. And who knows, maybe they can become better parents. Better father, better son for themselves in this case. And this is what I hope to achieve through the conversations.
And a shout out to all those leaders out there who really have the heart for their guys, right? So you're not alone. It's not an easy task, for sure. A lot of the things that we have learned and the things that we're going to learn from our guests definitely is through a lot of trial and error and experience. So maybe we can help expedite your learning process a little bit more.
And of course, to the young generation, you might sometimes feel, how come the world is so cruel? Like really, its business is just so cutthroat in this case. It might not be the case. Maybe for you to see the lenses and understand the challenges of what the leaders think, and how can you also air out your thoughts to find a better way to actually move all businesses forward. I think there's a fair chance that we can do so.
And we hope that you guys can join us on this journey of discovery.
Correct. Now that you know that what this WAU podcast is all about, please stay tuned for our upcoming exciting episodes that's lined up for you, right? Of course, if you like our content, please like, subscribe, and comment. Share this with anyone that you feel that is good for them. Right?
And we are always on the lookout for more interesting guests, unconventional guests to bring onto the studio. So if you know of any mentor, any bosses, or someone who in your work environment has created a good culture, please let us know. So our producers, Cynthia and Yvonne, will be able to get in touch with them. Of course, on the flip side, if you know of anyone in the workforce who really represents the workforce in a very mature way and wants to have their voice to be heard, we would love to have them on the podcast as well. And with that, we've come to the end of our first episode. My name is Edmund.
My name is Raymond.
Signing off.